I already beeped it.
Oh, death is natural and necessary, but not just. It is a random force of nature. Survival is equally accidental. Each is an occasion to remember that survival is a gift. Those are the words. I missed my card. We're allowed to start over? Those are the words that were uttered by somebody's name who I scratched out on my card, and I don't have my next card, but they're profound. 5 years ago, on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, I was in a horrendous accident. It was a near-life or near-death experience, and for all intents and purposes, I should not be standing here in front of you right now. In my presentation, I'm going to talk about how dangerous it is to ride motorcycles. I'm going to talk about what I did, how I recovered, and how severely damaged I was. And then I'm going to talk about what I've done with my life, or how it's changed my life. First of all, back in March of 2004, I had a lot of ambitions and had a couple businesses, and at the time we had about 27 employees working for us, my company and a partner, and it was time for making hay, and social parties were part of that, and we decided to have a St. Patrick's Day get together, and I would do all the cooking. And barbecuing is kind of my specialty, so we invited a lot of friends. And on the way to go to the house to barbecue, where everyone would show up, we stopped at the bar and decided that we'd drink a little bit too. That's when I probably made my first fatal mistake. Anyway, we all gathered. I started cooking steaks and all kinds of fun stuff. There was a lot of people there, and sometime during the night there was a motorcycle fired up. A lot of smoke filled the garage. It's my brother-in-law's two-stroke motorcycle. Actually, it's a CR250. Anybody knows about those, are really fast. High-performance motorcycle. They're like the Formula One of motorcycles. And this bike was custom modified for racing. There's two of them in the garage, mine and my partner's. So my brother-in-law jumped on the bike, filled the garage full of two-stroke smoke coming out of the tailpipe, and wanted to ride the bike, so I obliged him, pushed him off the chocks out into the street. Shortly after that, I jumped on my bike and followed him. We were wearing flip-flops, and it was dusk. And we're on a road down by the river in front of our house. Next thing I remember, I was in the hospital. It was almost 4 weeks later, and all I could remember was, or think, that I was in a movie and I was an actor, and that I was on set, on location, shooting a movie in Mexico, and the food was really horrible and it was hot. In all reality, it was really hot because I was under a lot of sedation, medical sedation from morphine. When I woke up, I found out that I had a compound fracture to my femur. I lost half my femur. It came out through my quadricep muscles. I lost my radius and half my radius and half my ulna, compound fracture. Broke a rib, punctured a lung, broke my orbital, punctured my eyeball. I'm blind in the left eye. Fractured my skull, ripped my ear off, had to be sewn back on. I lost 2 teeth, and a lot of I guess they're just flesh wounds, but a lot of the tissue on my body was removed from the impact and the road rash. My brother-in-law had a damaged mitral heart valve. He has a paralyzed left arm, and my passenger, who is a girlfriend of mine, had a fractured pelvis. Needless to say, the accident was pretty horrendous. Everybody's made a pretty miraculous recovery, although my brother-in-law still retains a paralyzed left arm. It's sort of like a dead fish hanging on him. I've got about 50% use of my left leg and no rotation in my left forearm. Motorcycles are super dangerous. When I was in the hospital, I learned that about 80% of the people that were in the ER, they call it the Humpty Dumpty ward there, were all there because of motorcycles. So it was an evolution for me, learning about who I was, where I was, how I got there. After that, my life changed dramatically. I started doing a lot of things differently. One of I guess the biggest things that I did is I ended the business I was in, the partnership. I stopped drinking alcohol indefinitely, and I started giving back to other people and educating them and letting them know about that. I've done some work with MAD. They're the Mothers Against Drug Driving, and I volunteered and done some work with them to educate other people, youngsters that ride motorcycles. I'm interested in telling my story. I'm glad that I was able to do it here in a presentation with you guys. It's an opportunity for me to share some of my past. So in closing, what I'd like to say is that obviously, motorcycles are dangerous. I was lucky to live, and it did change my life for good. So if you're thinking about riding a motorcycle, here's the very last thing. They say there are those who have been caught, and then those who will, and that relates to death. So if you're outside of those two parameters, you're lucky, and that's about where I fit, and I'm probably in about the 1 percentile. So that's it. Don't ride motorcycles.
Yeah.